Josh Witten, how's it going?
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. I'm so excited to hear your story today
Thrilled.
because you reached out to me and I thought, whoa, this story really caught my eye. I was so pumped to have you on. So you used to be like a hardcore keto paleo, and then you had a plant medicine experience that you said totally shifted your life. You came out vegan.
Yeah.
And you said you would literally never go back. So I found this so
Yeah.
interesting. I love this. So
It might be the first case of somebody going from paleo to fruitarian in a 4-hour period. So,
what the heck happened? I'm so interested in these plant medicine experiences. I've never done plant medicine. I think everybody's got to do what's right for them, follow that path. I have always had such a strong interest in it. So take us back, like what led you to do that and what happened?
I mean, I was an entrepreneur, early on in my life, and then I just wanted the freedom I wanted financial freedom so that I could explore the world. And so that happened, and I went on a big journey of consciousness. And at some point, the plant medicine thing came into the picture. And so I've had many experiences, and I don't think any of them have ever related to food or diet before. But on this particular occasion, that was on the menu. And so I essentially got like a 3-hour lecture during this experience.
What? Like, how is the communication? How does it, what happens? So you can tell me exactly. I'm
And
so
first of all, like people are so different that,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of an outlier in these experiences. And also, a lot of people take these things and like lie down on the ground or whatever. I sat like, bolt upright in a meditative posture. I've done a lot of, stacking my spine and this and that. So I feel like it was a really clear communication. And I also want to be clear that like, I don't want people saying like, well, look, ayahuasca told this guy to go vegan or whatever,
Yeah.
because that's a simplistic understanding of how this stuff works. And what I'd say is that particular medicine, it clears, temporarily at least, fear, guilt, and shame from your system. And of course, your vibration just rises incredibly once those come pouring out of you, right? So a person is going to sort of see whatever they can see and learn whatever they can learn at a higher vibration than they were before. And so what was up for me, though, was the first thing that I heard was that the difficult emotions that I still struggled with now and then, it said weren't your own. They said these emotions aren't your own. They're coming in the flesh of the animals you're eating.
Wow.
And it
That's
just,
so crazy.
it instantly made sense though. Like
that makes so much, that's so crazy.
if you're eating animals that are sad and depressed and terrified, then why wouldn't you wake up with kind of a nameless bout of terror once in a while in the morning, right?
Yeah, and
Or
they say
depression.
when like the animals are, their lives are taken, when their lives are taken like by humans at these slaughterhouses or whatever it is, they say that, they obviously are in horror and release all these stress hormones and it's
Exactly.
like very negative, right?
And with humans in the latest trauma research, they're saying that the traumas are stored in the body and whatnot, right? So why would it be any different with these animals? So
And then it goes into us too.
it goes into us. And so I've been vegan for 6 months now, raw vegan, mostly fruit, essentially fruitarian. And yeah, the emotions are better and,
Wow.
and clearer and cleaner. But I would also say I've spent 40 years building my body out of dead animals, largely.
Yeah.
So it's going to take time to cycle out
Yeah.
as well. So I'm like doing the sauna every day and I'm detoxing and sweating it out. But I believe that clearly. And when I was paleo, I cared about animal welfare. I believed, though, that we needed meat to be healthy. And so I would visit farms. I would, try to do the pasture raised thing. I did for a while. It was mostly wild meat, wild deer. I was like, let's go for the happiest animal of all, who's living in the woods, who's never been mistreated. So I was trying to bring a lot of consciousness and care to it. But it's such a slippery slope. You travel and then a friend says, oh, I thought this restaurant was grass-fed. And you're like, I don't see that anywhere on the menu. And you're like, oh, God, it's just a slippery slope. And so I know that there were, and then growing up eating, meat of any quality. So I'm on a journey to get all of that out of my system now and to really show the world like what that I want to join, like, what's his name with the raw vegan rising guy. Like the world needs
Shane.
like,
Yeah. I just
So
saw Shane in person in LA. He looks
yeah,
so good. And he looks so freaking good. He's 50 years
exactly.
old. And people always say he's not 50.
Yeah,
Show me a birth
yeah,
certificate. And they literally don't, they think he's lying.
yeah.
And they find these things and they're like, no, he said this here. He said this here. This doesn't make sense. He's lying. He's
Yeah.
not 50. But I flew him in from Texas to LA
Looked at his
and I
ID.
had to use his passport. So he is 50 and he looks great.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these raw vegans look amazing.
Yeah.
And I get like some cases they don't. I get some cases like maybe people are doing extreme and they're not eating enough calories. Sometimes they don't. But
That's
feel
what
like
I did. I lost a lot of weight. My friends got really worried.
they did.
Straight
Yeah.
fruit, no nuts. I was
Oh, I'm sure your
watching,
friends are
your
like,
friend
"You're
Eli was like,
nuts."
"Don't eat nuts, no avocado," and I went like,
Your friends are probably like, turn off her channel. What are you
I
doing?
need some nuts and avocado to
Yeah.
on my body.
I eat a whole variety.
Yeah.
I like fruit, but I like crave greens and stuff too.
Yeah.
So this is interesting to me. Like what happened when you got out of this experience and then you were just like, that's it? Like right away?
Well, like I said, I just told you like 30 seconds of what I understood and saw, and it was like 3 hours, right?
But then you didn't eat any, you went like fruitarian or raw vegan like
Yeah.
pretty much after that. And then
Yeah.
so what happened? Like, did you notice any differences shifting to that different lifestyle, shifting
course,
in
yeah.
how you felt and like physically, like mentally, you noticed differences?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially doing like these mono meals and things like that, like really being able to sense like, oh, like strawberry energy is different than banana energy is different than walnut energy. That's such a profound thing. And you realize that people are eating 30 ingredients at every meal. Their body can't figure out what's what.
No.
Right? So that's been very fascinating. And when I was in my 20s, I also was a major student of Gandhi and studying, Mahatma Gandhi's life. And now looking back, I thought he was nuts at first, but half of his autobiography is all about, he's like, I've got this important, job to do this week in politics or leading a march or something. And he's like, and I'm only eating lemons and almonds. This is right in his autobiography. And everybody reads it and they're like, what's up with this guy? He's telling you what he's eating. And now I'm like, wow, he was really sensing into what kind of energy did he need for the type of consciousness he wanted.
So true. That's why Steve Jobs, like he went on those fasts. Not like it's a great example because I know he
That's
did.
all you hear is
I
he
know
died.
he did pass away young from pancreatic cancer.
Somebody passed away on the standard American diet just now. You don't hear about that.
From what I hear, like Steve Jobs also from the books I read and the stuff that I heard, he didn't, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I heard he didn't just stick to that. He would flip flop and he's all over the
Yeah.
place. But I know he did do those phases of eating like only a couple fruits for like a couple weeks because it just taps you into this creativity and this consciousness and this spirituality. It's so amazing. I love that too. And when I've done periods of just eating like fruits and green juices on top of the world, and the foods do have vibrations.
They
It's like
do.
that Ǩurlian photography
Yeah.
where you see the piece of meat and then you see the apple and the apple is like buzzing alive. Like
Yeah.
that's how I feel on these
Yeah.
foods. And then the meat is like dull. Like I wouldn't even be running this podcast if I was
It
still
doesn't
eating
look
meat.
like food to me anymore.
Yeah.
Than it used to. And
Yeah.
now I'm learning all these things that I'm hearing from people like your previous guest, where I'll hear somebody, a friend, be like, "Oh, you smell that meat cooking? It smells great." And I'm like, "No, you love the smell of burning barbecue sauce and salt
Yeah.
in the air. That's what you're really." And they're like, "Oh, they're not distinguishing. They're not thinking."
Yeah.
But so I'm learning all these things now and changing my sensitivities toward all that. So
Yeah. And then so how do you eat? You feel like you have a lot of energy and you're making it work?
it's better. But when I started, I made the mistake of not eating enough, like many people, I guess. And I lost a lot of weight, and I didn't really need to lose much weight. And then, because when I was paleo, I was so used to intermittent fasting, and I got used to a hungry feeling, and I would delay food as long as possible. And so I was kind of accidentally doing that while being on a raw fruit diet. And I tracked my calories one day, and I was like at 800 calories for the day. And I'm like, that's why I'm losing weight, So now, if I get any cravings, though, I have like maybe like some nut butter that I've made out of soaked nuts, and I spread a little bit of that on a banana, and I just feel incredible. And so, and add into that these algae, right? The chlorellas, the spirulinas, the marine phytoplanktons. Like I've been adding those in, and now I'm really feeling like, oh, now I have my strength back.
Makes a difference. I'm really into sea moss lately.
Yeah.
Because I keep interviewing people like Chef Babette. She's in her 70s. Holy crap. I saw her in person. She looks unbelievable.
interview with her.
And she's like, sea moss, sea moss. Everybody's like, sea moss.
Yeah.
Kara Brotman. I noticed
Yeah.
her hair is growing so much. She's like, sea moss. So
Yeah.
I had a bad haircut in LA. I got some sea moss. And I swear to you, it's grown so much
Yeah.
in just like a month. And I think these things are amazing.
They are. And so another thing I kind of understood during this medicine journey was I could essentially see karma playing out as a real thing. I could like see the karmic equation in the universe. And one thing I saw that I believe personally is that people are consuming these animals so carelessly and thoughtlessly. And some people have more gratitude for these animals and say a little prayer, and a lot of people don't, just go through the drive-through. And I saw that the way the karma completes is that it's not that you're going to come back you're not going to reincarnate as a factory chicken necessarily, maybe, but the way this karma is completing is that it means that somewhere in life ahead, you're going to be treated without regard. Somebody's going to not have consideration for your life.
Wow, because you didn't have consideration for
Exactly.
eating that piece of chicken that lost its life.
Exactly. And so my understanding of karma in all of my journeying is that it's, in a sense, there's almost no like good karma or bad karma. That's kind of a shorthand that's useful, but it's really more like you have to experience the experiences you create for others. That's what's going on. And if you think about it, it's a really elegant law to have in place in the universe. Like ultimately, as a being becomes more conscious and realizes that that's what's going on, you'll think to yourself, gee, I think I'm going to create experiences for other people that I would like to have because it's coming back. It's going to come back one way or another. So I saw that, and I saw that the completion of that circuit of karma was kind of so long and so not culturally talked about. Nobody, I'm saying this now and it sounds nuts to people.
No, I love it. I'm all
It also
into
makes
it.
sense, right?
Yeah.
But because it's out of our awareness and it's not in our culture, people are kind of clueless about this. So I saw those two things. I saw the emotions I had left that were difficult they were never going to stop because I was ingesting them on a routine basis. And then I also saw that there was this karmic equation clearing. And I just was like, wow. And because of your guests and watching your podcast and I've watched hundreds of YouTube videos from people who are thriving on this diet. And I swear to you, before 10 months ago, I didn't know that. In the paleo community, we only talk about the failed vegans. And I truly believe that any vegan I met was probably a year away from quitting. We just didn't talk about the countless 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds and 100-year-olds who've been doing this for decades, and we just didn't know about it. It almost feels like propaganda now when I look back.
No, and that's like Fred Bishy. I was just talking about Fred Bishy in the last interview. I interviewed him yesterday in Staten Island.
Yeah.
He's 94.
Yeah.
He's been raw for 60 years. He like perfect eyesight, no glasses, perfect hearing, walk around the house, like so with it, writing his next book.
Yep.
It's
Exactly.
amazing. It's so inspiring.
So I'm thrilled because now my interest in sustainability that I've had for the longest time, and I've done a lot of work in sustainability, started gardens and urban farms and things like this, but my interest in sustainability, my interest in spirituality, of creating as little karma as possible, and my interest in performance and health and nutrition, I feel like it's all finally come together in a coherent answer.
And I feel like with such a background in like spirituality and consciousness, I feel like this is the lifestyle for you.
Oh, I'm in heaven.
It just takes your like I never truly felt really that like I did have spiritual. I had a bit of a spiritual side before I was raw, but not like this. This is another side, and I feel like eating raw, I'm so much more connected to the universe and to God, and I just like pick up on synchronicities more, and I'm following my passion, my purpose. All these things have like fell into alignment. Have you noticed like changes like that in the last time?
I'm an only child, and I had a lot of time alone growing up, and I had spiritual experiences spontaneously happening since I was little. And I've almost been excessively spiritual and almost excessively like obsessed with spirituality. I'm very lucky that I managed to start a company and get through college and do all these things. But during this medicine journey, like I said, it was 3 hours of like a conversation. Like I've actually written it down, and it could be a book, and I might just
like
release
how does it. Do you just get pictures? Like is it like?
Well, so in this world, if a person hears something audibly, they call that clairaudience. If a person just understands something directly, they call that clairsentience, and that's kind of what it is for me.
Cool.
It's like there's a zip file that gets downloaded, and the whole thing gets unzipped at one time, and all the files are there, and all the knowing is there.
And I think it's meant to be because you reached out to me, and you were here at like the same time as me. We were both in New York, and I haven't been in New York since before COVID, so I was like, oh, this is meant to be.
I haven't
right?
been to upstate to visit family in 4 years.
Wow.
And I'm passing through. My flight went through here, and so it is very common for synchronicity. So I've been synchronicity, I use my calendar like the 𝑖𝑐hing almost, right? Like I see the energy collecting on the calendar. And so when I saw that this worked out the way it was going to, it was kind of like, oh, but that's normal. That's how I navigate.
Yeah.
And I've always done that. But what I learned during this medicine journey was it said, now you understand why your consciousness fluctuates so much, which has always been my biggest frustration, because I have experienced the top of the mountain 100 times, and then I would get so upset that I came back down to normal consciousness, right? And it said, now you see why it fluctuates so much, because of these sad animals you're eating. It's lowering your vibration like that. And so I'm just like awash with epiphanies during this journey and it said, now you can keep the consciousness that you're attaining, you know?
This is just the most beautiful thing ever. That's unbelievable.
I've been meeting up with every vegan I know from the past, and I'm telling them this, and in my mind, it's like, well, this is why everybody went vegan, right? They got to download it, but no, they went for other reasons.
A lot of times, like I had a lot of health problems, I think that's most of the
Yeah.
case. People are like, health problems. And the last guest I interviewed, he had no health problems. He just wanted to live like the best life in his like 60s, 70s, 80s. And that's the thing I noticed with a lot of these people who eat this way. Like they're really living it up in their 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Now, a lot of people, maybe not to that age, but a lot of people do get rid of many of their health problems by doing a clean paleo kind of thing. Like any diet that gets rid of 90% of the junk food of the world.
Processed food and the junk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I didn't come to it from a health concern. You know, I needed a different thing to get me there, and I got a very strong and potent message that was what I needed.
And you must feel different consciously. I know I felt different removing the animal products.
Yeah.
Like you feel different inside. And I remember early on being raw vegan, there were a couple times like I tried to have animal products again. And then I remember I just felt different consciously. And I felt like I don't want this inside me. Like that energy. It's like an energy thing to me now,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's real.
Do you feel like happier eating this way? Or like, would you say it's like similar?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel happier. I also... I do a lot of environmental work. I have this cool global environmental project we should talk about at some point. I've had business success and entrepreneurial success. But when you have like many, many options in life, it can be a kind of paralysis or depression or like, what's my purpose now? Like I have this purpose. But I really feel like the resolution of so many questions in this plant-based vegan diet now, it's given me like renewed purpose to live. It's like, and I'm encouraging the other vegans that I know who have been vegan for maybe a decade or more, who kind of gave up on telling people because they kind of, they burned some bridges, their families off. And I'm just like, we just get to go around being healthy and letting people know that we don't eat animals. And 9 out of 10 people still need to hear that message, and they need to see a living person doing well, and to think that you can just take care of your body and be kind to the planet, and be a living example of what I think is the way forward for ultimately all of society. Like what a joy! It like gives you purpose. You can just because you're a driven person, and sometimes you think I'm not doing enough, but now realize just by being and living this way and being a living example, you're doing a lot all the time. You're walking around on a different source of fuel that's low karma, low carbon footprint. And so I just feel like more productive all the time now, because I'm just like, wow, just being alive now is part of my purpose.
Yeah. Amazing. You feel better. You're not feeling depressed. I think you did a TED Talk on depression, didn't you?
I did.
I saw part of that. That was amazing. So if somebody out there is watching and they're feeling depressed, like what do you think are some keys to like getting out of that and like feeling happy and like living your best life and not feeling depressed? I think it's easy for people to fall into depression like this day and age with all the Instagram and the fast pace and the this, the that, and the foods. And
Yes. So the diet, I'd say, is the easiest place to start.
I agree.
And because you don't want to be wasting a ton of money at a therapist when the problem is that you swallowed a terrified animal last night at dinner.
Yeah.
Right? But and that terror is going to trigger all kinds of things in your past and memories, but you're going to work that stuff forever because you're just going to keep re-triggering it. So clean up the diet, absolutely. But then a lot of depression, and the kind that I went through for a year in college, and I gave that TED Talk about, that resolved, they almost medicated me, and it resolved through a 3-day spiritual experience, essentially.
Wow.
And it was an existential depression. And so there's a lot of depression out there that comes from nihilism. It comes from meaninglessness. It comes from people not having a purpose.
That's the truth. That's the fact. That's it. That's everything. Yeah.
And in a weird way, it's meant to work that way, because you're supposed to feel sick when you're not on your purpose. Because what if you felt amazing, the less on purpose you are? What if you felt amazing, more amazing, the less meaning you had in your life? You would go off the rails. You would have no way to navigate, right? So in a weird way, it's a compass. And so I think it's important for people to realize that they need to have purpose. They need to find purpose. And also, this is kind of what I'm taking social media more seriously these days. This is what a lot of my videos are about. But realizing some profound things, like that the universe was doing something before you got here. Mm-hmm. And we can get so neurotic about, what's my purpose? What am I doing? Should I do this, that, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Do you realize you just showed up here?
Yeah.
And there's been something in process for a long time? And the cool thing is, once you kind of perceive what it is that the life force is doing or the universe is doing, then you can look at it and go, what if I get on board? What if I get on board with what the universe was doing? And that, when you think about it, that's the basis of Taoism, essentially, that there's this life force, this universal force, and you want to perceive the Tao and align yourself, harmonize yourself with the Tao. It's no joke. That's what they were getting at.
I love that.
So harmonizing yourself with that life force. And then another beautiful thing that I tell people who are in an existential depression is to realize that the universe is mostly empty space as far as we can see. And then there's no life anywhere else that we can find so far, through whatever telescope we look through. And you find this one planet with life on it. And that life is essentially this concentrated complexity. And when you look at the single most concentrated point of complexity in the entire known universe, what you find is you and me, the human being. We have the most interconnections, the most neural connections of any creature pound for pound. And so if you just stopped and really grasped that you are this product of complexity, of this process that's been at work for billions of years, and you are the epitome of that process. You are the paragon. You are the most complex production it has ever produced. If you really meditated on that, it'll snap you out of a depression. Because you'll go, wait, this is very special, actually. What I am is very special.
True.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's so true.
Yeah.
I feel like you being vegan, things are just going to go to another level. Look out.
It told me my consciousness is going to double.
Well, I believe it. Yeah, it's happening already. And if somebody... Okay, so I agree that passion and purpose are like everything. Has your purpose changed over the years? And if somebody's feeling like they don't know what that is, like they're watching, they want to live their best life, they want to follow like their purpose, but they can't tune into like that or the synchronicities or what the right path is.
Yeah.
What do you think they should do?
I just re-listened to that book, The Surrender Experiment. Do you know that one?
So good.
It's
Michael Singer, I think.
Michael Singer.
I got to listen to that again.
And I listened to it about it's better than I remember it.
Yeah.
And I'm a little embarrassed to admit, because I sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I really needed to listen to it again.
I need to listen to it again.
And I just gotten so wrapped up in, and like when you go to your YouTube page and it loads up like 50 videos, and every one of those videos is like scientifically, targeted to get you to think that you're essentially lacking something until you watch that video.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So you're being confronted every day with hundreds of messages that you're off track, you don't know enough, blah, blah, blah. And what I love about that Surrender Experiment book, which is similar to what I was saying before about what's going on around here in the universe. What is the universe up to? And in his book, he's saying, what is life asking of you? What is life offering you? So I listened to that again, and this beautiful experience came over me, and it said, essentially, just do your environmental project, do make soil all around the world, but eating raw fruit, raw veggies, soaked nuts and seeds, and algae, and seeing what kind of body you can make out of that. Like I'm finally back into working out. I just started, but
and look at Shane. You can for sure. Yeah, you
and
look
when
good.
My body responds.
Yeah.
My body responds quickly.
And look at Ted Carr. It's like, get in the gym.
Exactly. And I was like, wait a minute, you mean, because I never was one of these guys who was like, I really want to get on social media and flex and stuff. And it's like, wait, but I would do it for a good cause.
Yeah.
And if people out there don't believe you can build a body on those ingredients I just listed, but you can, then that means in the name of science and consciousness and spirituality and the evolution of the universe, I'm going to get up there and you watch in 3 months, I'm going to be jacked on my Instagram channel.
Yeah, you are. I believe it. This is amazing for you.
And I tapped into that simple purpose that I was overlooking when I re-listened to this book.
Yeah, this book. So
Yeah.
in this book, he really goes with the flow in that book from what I remember, right? I haven't listened to it in so long.
And he's vegetarian.
But
Drops
he
that a
kind
couple
of,
times.
I think, wasn't he even so extreme where he's like, he wanted to move, but he's like, if I'm meant to move, like somebody will knock on my door and offer to buy the house.
Yeah.
And then like stuff like that happen.
Yeah, of course.
That's how we have to be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can say to the universe, I'm open to communicating with this larger force, and I'm open to watching for signs, if because it can communicate that way. You can ask for guidance, and you can say, you don't want to end up so delusional that it's like, oh, I just saw the number 12 on a bus going by. Like, you can drive yourself nuts. And you can say, look, I have standards. You got to give me strong signals. And I've done that before, to where the signals were so strong repeatedly that you're like, okay, well, now it would just be rude to not do what you're asking.
To not obey this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what an interesting path you've had. And I think like years ago, your health journey like really started when you had the financial freedom, and your parents' health was not so great, right? So you started researching, and what happened there?
I really was just looking for, like, what is diabetes? I didn't feel like I was getting a straight answer from people, and then didn't go looking for food system stuff, but then figured out that was the culprit. The food system was, destroying some of my family members. And then I just obsessively studied the food system, and before you know it, I was foraging mushrooms in the wild and this and that, and I was growing my own food. I was like, the food system is so suspect. I actually want to plant seeds myself and see if vegetables come out of them, because until you do it, you don't know for sure.
No.
And I did it, and it was profound. And then I thought, I'm going to get my friends involved in this. So I started a community garden, and we had tons of produce coming out of that. And then that was beautiful. And I said, well, more people need to experience this. And so started an urban farm in the middle of a city that's still running today. And so my vegetable intake went through the roof just from that. I started doing green smoothies and all that stuff. And I started feeling amazing. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, this has been great. I have loved I'm so glad you reached out to me.
Yeah.
Like, what a powerful story. And like with your consciousness, I can't picture you not vegan. Were you like anti-vegan before? Were you like...
I wasn't anti-vegan, but I truly was under the impression that we needed
I don't judge,
protein,
even
and
if
we
you were.
needed.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I sit with friends and I still don't judge, and I tell them, they want to know, of course, what happened during this medicine ceremony, right? And I'll be like, maybe I'll tell you after dinner, or whatever. And they're like, no, tell me now, I can take it, And I'm not judging them, and I'm not even saying this advice is for anybody else, or that anybody else who does plant medicine is going to hear this. But I know that the guidance that came to me probably applies to a few million other people out there too.
What a cool experience that happened.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wow. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about that you feel like our audience would, and I would like that, because you're such an interesting character.
So somewhere during my spiritual journey, about 3 or 4 years ago, I was trying to meditate, and I kept getting images of people creating new living soil together out of their food scraps. And at first I was batting it away. I was like, look, I'm trying to meditate, I'm like trying to clear my mind. And then I got the message that like, no, you're not supposed to be clearing your mind right now. This is like your marching orders. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And I was like, okay. So essentially the message I got, which I want to convey to your audience, is that on our journey of consciousness, we have this like self-care thing that we finally realize. Like, what am I doing to myself? What am I doing to my body, right? What have I been doing to myself? And every one of your guests, they go on a juice fast. You see that personal revolution in their life, right? And then many of them, you see that then extends to their family members or the people around them. They want to start leading other people and helping other people to care for themselves. And I would just say that journey of consciousness needs to continue all the way to planetary care. Because if you think about it, as much as we should be proud of ourselves for finally eating the right thing that our body wants, it's also kind of self-indulgent that we're just like, thank you for all this great food, and it's all I have to do is put the right stuff in my mouth and not put the wrong stuff in my mouth. And it's like, yes, but after doing that for a while, start asking, where's that food coming from? And is the planet okay? How is the planet doing while it's providing this endless quantity of food for 8 billion people, which it's never done before?
True.
And which honestly it can't keep doing.
Yeah.
In this way. So
Yeah.
the food system needs to change. And so I encourage all of your audience, because they're powerhouses. They're going through these personal revolutions of consciousness. And so to start participating in food production in small ways, to start gardening, to start visiting orchards, to find wild fruit trees all around you. Half of my diet has been wild mangoes that I found in a public park.
Wow, I
'Cause
love
I
it.
couldn't get good produce where I was. And then I
Yeah.
was walking in the park one day, and sure enough, there's like hundreds of mangoes lying on the ground. Can you
Amazing.
believe that? So just enter into that relationship with nature directly. And then a super simple thing that everybody can be doing, especially vegans and vegetarians who have these beautiful food scraps, is to get those food scraps into a compost bin.
Yeah.
And most cities around the world actually do not have a composting program.
Yeah.
So if you imagine 90%, 95% of the food waste in the world and the food leftovers from our food prep are going to landfills every single day. And it's one of the most absurd things. And you need that turning back into new living soil and going back to nourish these plants that go back into our bodies. It's like one of the simplest, most overlooked things that as a species we can all get on board with, even if you're not vegan or vegetarian.
Yeah,
to be honest.
absolutely.
And so I got this message, and I had, started companies before, and so I started a nonprofit, and we make it very simple for people. So
Yeah.
anybody can just go to makesoil.org,
Yeah.
and find what we call a soil site near them, which has a nice person who knows how to create soil out of these food scraps. And you just lovingly and consciously bring your food scraps to them. You give it to them. You have gratitude for what the earth has done for you. And you'll see within weeks this dark, black, living soil come out of this process, and you're never the same. People have transformative experiences witnessing that.
Wow.
So that's my message, that we can do better than just being glad and taking for granted that every time we go to the grocery store, we can find a banana or a melon or something.
Yeah, I love that. So amazing. I can tell you really just like live it, breathe it, like practice what you preach, you are it. And I love this new vegan path for you.
Oh, I'm excited.
Not like I'm not all like, oh, let's turn the world vegan. I'm like, everybody do what's right for them. But I love this for you.
Thank you.
There's big things ahead.
Thank you. I believe
Yeah,
it.
and this has been amazing. Thanks for coming and sharing your experience. It's just been so inspiring. I love it.
Thanks for doing what you do.
So magical.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. And where can everybody find you?
Oh, yeah.
So I'll link it down below and everything as well. And yeah.
So on all the social accounts, I'm just getting started there, but if you follow, I promise I'll produce more content.
Yeah.
It's Josh Whitten. So if you can spell my name, 𝑗OSHWHITTON. So it's at Josh Whitten on all the places. And then the nonprofit's called Make Soil, MAKESOIL, and it's at Make Soil on all the channels.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for coming out. Thanks for coming to the
been a
studio. This
pleasure.
has been a pleasure. I've loved this talk. And I hope you guys have as well. If you have, give it a big thumbs up. I hope it added some value to your day and inspired you. And be sure to subscribe to the channel for more amazing, inspiring videos. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.